Good morning, board members.
Good morning. Good morning.
This is the meeting of the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors. We will call the meeting to order. This meeting has been properly noticed. We are pleased to have with us this morning Pastor Lee Parks from Hope Fellowship in Somerset for invocation. I'll invite Pastor Parks forward. All stand.
Thank you for the honor of letting me come and pray over this assembly. Heavenly Father, we come into your presence in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus. Every person here who is here has been placed by your very hand. We pray, Father, that they will listen to your voice and do your will. Let your name be glorified here, and each person who ministers here to this community be blessed by your prosperity. We thank you for all that they're doing for the people of St. Croix Valley and the St. Croix region. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members, are you ready? Yep. Would you please indicate your attendance for the roll? We do have a quorum. 16 board members are present. The consent agenda is in front of you. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. First of all, our minutes from our last meeting, which was held on 3 September, announcing the date of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the board, which is on 5 November. And then there are certain technical rezoning adjustments. There was a public hearing held. This is the Croix rezoning. Public hearing was held a couple of weeks ago. This was conducted by the CDC committee, and so that rezoning application, which was approved and recommended, is in front of us on the consent agenda. Chair would entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Motion from Schachtner and second from Peavey. You ready?
Second. Yes.
Proceed to vote.
It's unanimous.
And the consent agenda is approved unanimously. We're at that place in our agenda when we are available for public comment. This is a time when any member of the public that wishes to address the board on any subject not on the agenda, and I stress that point, not on the agenda, is invited to address the board. We have several comment cards that have been filled out from people that do wish to speak. You don't need any of the authorization, but I would request, if you do intend to speak and have not filled out a comment card, simply take one of the yellow cards and pass that forward. This gives us 2 things. 1, an indication of how many speakers wish to address the board, and second of all, it is a record of who has addressed the board. I would also indicate that since this is a meeting of the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors that is subject to Wisconsin open meeting statutes, any subject that you bring to us is for information. We are not able to enter into any discussion on that item today, although it may become an agenda item at a future meeting. So if we sit in rapt attention and listen, that's what we're supposed to do, but we just cannot enter into any discussion. So with that, we'll move forward into our public comment period. There are several that have been given to me. Most of them appear to be on one subject, but there is one that is different, and let's start with that one, and then we'll move into some comments on the Ag Center. But we do have a request from Tom Kruger to speak about speed limit reductions on County H in the village of Deer Park, and I would invite Tom forward. For Tom and for everyone else, even though I'm not going to be timing you, consistent with our bylaws, I would respectfully request you to confine your comments to approximately 3 minutes.
Okay, shouldn't take that long, but I gotta start someplace, I don't know where to go. But I live on County Road H by the Village of Deer Park, and I'd like to see the speed limit reduced there. And I figure the supervisor should be able to help. Please check into it or give me an answer sometime. And I'd like to see it reduced to 45, because on the highway there, it's down to 45 within the village limits. And they come over that hill there where I live, and there's not a vehicle there. You pull out of the driveway and they're passing you. And then there's a stop sign right ahead, heading to the east. So, there's a lot of houses there now. Kids. So, it's worse right now with the 46 codes. Because there's a lot of traffic now. But that hopefully that'll change once they get the roundabout in, but I don't think it's gonna change a whole lot because they're gonna avoid that. So, and if this isn't the place to go, you gotta tell me where to start. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. My vice chair will observe that I am just mixing these up in some random order. Since they all seem to be on the same subject, I don't know if anyone wants to start and anyone wants to finish, but we'll just now take these in random order. John Van Dyke.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Van Dyke, Chairman of Aaron Prairie Township, and our request is to keep the Ag Center building as is. As dairy and grain producers in the area, we go there quite often, not just for the Farm Service Agency, but also for extension. A lot of people volunteer to be 4-H leaders. They need to go to the extension service often. Soil and water is very important to us. We do nutrient management plans, that's through the Soil and Water Department, and other functions at the Ag Center. Ag Center building's been there for years. It's the perfect location. This is where agriculture is. This is where agriculture will continue to be, and that building, as is, needs to stay the way it is. If you look at what's happened in St. Croix County, certainly we're one of the fastest growing counties. Granted, the housing market kind of slowed it down, but for 30 years we've been talking about the bridge coming. Well, the bridge is coming, and the housing is going to be on those tiers of townships along the border. The next tier of townships, if you look in the plat book, there's going to be less and less agriculture because people will start moving. You get to the central part of the county where agriculture is. We are exclusive ag township. There are other townships that are exclusive ag. We're working with Ellen and the state and the county on rezoning to Ag 1, Ag 2, which alleviates a little bit of the problem we've had with exclusive ag, but it's still agriculture. It's dairy and it's crops. We don't have the dairy farms that we used to have, but we still have crops. And agriculture, the biggest producer in St. Croix County. And we need to recognize it, we need to work with it, we need the Ag Center building left in Baldwin as is. John Vries couldn't be here today. He has talked to the State Farm Service Agency chairman, manager, and on June 21st, the county was sent an RFP, that's a request for proposal, because they have to do that because the Farm Service Agency needs to rent that property. I believe it was $13 a square foot. You folks or someone has decided that should be $25 a square foot. That is too much for Farm Service Agency. They want to remain in Baldwin. They know that's where agriculture is. They know that's where it belongs, and they'll be forced to look someplace else. One of the nice things about the Ag Center building is there's room, nice meeting room for 4-H, for extension meetings, and if you bring all that here, You're going to lose a lot of the volunteer 4-H people. You're going to lose a lot of the impact that Extension has, that farmers can have meetings there at night. The building is used. It's perfect location, perfect way the way it is. So on June 21st, that was sent to the county. They had till July 15th to send a proposal back. The county refused to do that or didn't do that. So that left them wondering where they're going to be, the Farm Service Agency. We still have, and Mr. Rees has talked to this Brad Paff, we still have a couple weeks left. They thought that they could reinstate it if the county board sent an RFP to the state level. So it can still be there. Now, it's been mentioned that we have a lot of space there and a lot of file cabinets, but every time I'm in there, and every farmer goes there in the spring, and then we go again in the fall to report crop acres, and every time we go there, they need to use those file cabinets. Every farm, every field is in a separate folder, and they need those file cabinets. They cannot be down the hall, they can't be down in the basement. They need to be there. So I would hope that the county board reconsiders this, keep the Ag Center like it is. If it's not broken, don't disrupt it. It's working for agriculture. It's working for the dairy and grain farmers of the county. We are a big part of agriculture, or a big part of the business of the county, and we will continue to be so, but you need to support us on this. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I apologize, I'm having a little difficulty reading the last name, Susan Gaussman. And if I butchered your name, I apologize.
You did my name well, I apologize. I'm Susan Gaussman, and I'd like to speak today about the importance of the Baldwin Ag Center to our 4-H program. St. Croix County has 18 4-H clubs, and 12 of those 4-H clubs are located east of Roberts, close to the Baldwin Ag Center, or closer than Hudson certainly would be. Our Ag Center gets a lot of 4-H traffic during working hours, which would be 9 to 5. But one of the things I feel that people who are not involved in 4-H and have never been involved in 4-H do not realize how much we use the Ag Center during non-business hours, or after 5 p.m. in the evening, and on Saturdays. We have 6 to 8 committees, 4-H committees, that meet once a month in the Baldwin Ag Center in the evenings. These once-a-month meetings involve about 100 people. We also have educational youth clinics for our 4-H kids. And these kids are required to attend these meetings in order to show at the fair, or to compete at the fair. Total, these meetings involve about a dozen meetings and over 200 kids. They take place in the evening or on Saturdays in the Ag Center. Number 1, because it's centrally located. Number 2, because they can accommodate large groups. And number 3, there's no fee at the Ag Center. A lot of your schools or your places where we could meet otherwise have fees now. Some of these committees don't have a budget at all, so to come up with a fee to pay for a building to meet at would have a negative impact. The committees hosting these clinics don't have budgets, as I said, so to come up with a fee would be very hard. I'm wondering if we move the Ag Center to here, if you're going to allow evening meetings for these kids and for the adults volunteers. I need to tell you that 4-H is really a great program. Moving the 4-H agency to Hudson and selling the Ag Center really would have a negative impact on our 4-H program. Another thing I was thinking about, I'm a lifelong 4-H'er. My kids are in 4-H, and now I have a grandson starting 4-H. So it is dear to my heart. And this is where I should key the music. I was thinking about the things I could tell you, the good things about 4-H. But one of the things that I was thinking about is how our 4-H program is run. Is you start 4-H when you're in first grade, and you can continue in 4-H until you're a year beyond high school. And your very first meeting is in November, and it's election. And 4-H meetings are run by the kids. So we elect, we have we make a ballot booth. The kids who are running for office give a campaign speech, why they're qualified to do that job, and then the kids vote. And whether it's your first night of 4-H at 7 years old, or you're a 10-year 4-H'er, you vote. Each person gets one vote. Our 4-H meetings, as I said, are run by the kids, and we use parliamentary procedure. You have to ask the chair to speak. We have call for a motion and a second. Then we have a discussion, and then you vote. Each kid gets one vote, whether you're 7 or 17. And I think for myself, I did not experience parliamentary procedure as a kid anywhere else. So if you want to talk about what you do, this is an experience our kids have, same thing that you do here, same format. And I really think it is educational. And I am not going to tell you that 4-H will end if you move us to Hudson from Baldwin. But I am going to tell you that it will have a negative impact. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate the formality that was just shown, but for future speakers, you need not worry about walking in front of these esteemed people. You can just cut right across here. Julie Mitchell. Jackie, excuse me. Jackie, right? Jackie.
That's okay.
And we just chatted earlier, so that shows you my memory.
You can tell we're sisters, we have the same handwriting, huh? Not good. Okay, as Daryl said, my name is Jackie Mitchell. I'm a resident of the town of Erin Prairie, where my husband and his family farm. And I also grew up with 4-H and am still a leader for 4-H also. But I just want to make a few comments. I did attend the meeting that was held with Administrator Patrick Thompson last Wednesday. And at that meeting, Administrator Thompson commented that a survey of residents in the county had recently been conducted. The results indicated that one item that county residents want to see is increased government efficiency. Located in Baldwin is not only the Ag Services Center we've been discussing, but also just a few blocks away is the DNR building. Individuals visiting the DNR may likely use the resources available at the Ag Services Center as well. At the Baldwin Ag Service Building, we have federal and county agriculture agencies located together. Individuals are able to access both agencies in one stop. So for example, as John said, there is paperwork that needs to be done. Individuals are able to enroll or talk to the federal agencies, walk across the hall, get the paperwork signed and completed at the county agency, walk back across the hall, and return the paperwork with the signatures to the federal agency. For the employees in these departments who have questions, concerns, or new information for each other, they can easily meet and discuss those concerns. According to a 2009 study, which was authorized by the county board and referenced at the last meeting, this building was built, the building in Baldwin was built with the intention of housing both the federal and county offices. It was planned this way. I believe that most likely it was planned this way, realizing It would increase government efficiency. So why would anyone break apart one of the most efficient government arrangements we have in the county? My second question is, are we being short-sighted in selling the Baldwin building? In Mr. Thompson's presentation, he alluded to the fact that there are already thoughts of adding an additional court to the government center in Hudson. With a little rearranging and creativity, could the space the Baldwin offices take up in Hudson be used instead as space for the court? Or if not for the court, for other expansions that very likely will be needed in 5 years or so as our county continues to grow as it is. So we don't have to again add on in a few years. And does it really make sense to sell a building in this down market anyway? If sold, the new owner of this building may be bragging, just as the county is now, about the county market building they just purchased. What a great building, what a great buy this building was. But to me, the most disheartening part of the whole idea is that the people who use and work in this building were not even asked their thoughts or concerns about moving the offices to Hudson. I realize the board is trying to accomplish many things after feeling like they were stalled out and not getting anything done. But I think that inaction is better than hasty, not thoroughly considered decisions, just to say that you have accomplished something. So I respectfully ask that you please reconsider your goal of selling the Baldwin Ag Center building. Thank you.
Don Shoemaker.
Morning. My name's Don Schumacher. My son and I have a farm just south of Baldwin. We farm about 1,200 acres. We have a calf cow operation and also crop farm. All of us here today are here for the same purpose. Keep that ag center here in Baldwin. Last September, the 25th, there was an informational meeting held in Baldwin, and that's where a lot of us first heard that the proposed sale of that building was coming. It came as a shock to most of us. Local papers weren't invited to be present for any reporting. The following evening, at an annual Farm Bureau meeting that was held in the American Legion in Baldwin, it was brought up about the sale. Only 2 people in that group, and those are all farmers that belong to the Farm Bureau, had never heard of it. Amazing. Only 2 people of all these people, and yet this was the Farm Bureau people that were meeting. You think somebody would have had the word that what was coming down the pike. I have here, and I don't think anybody cares to read it, but here's the study, 600 pages that you people had requested back in '09. The last part of this report was given in November 5th of last year to the county to read. I just wonder how many of you supervisors had a chance to read the facilities planning study. If you had, there's no question of how you'd vote. Everything that the engineering company that you hired says where the Ag Service Center should stay. It was done by Short, Elliott, and Henderson out of New Richmond. I can just about imagine what a study like this must have cost the county. It's the meat of the whole study is that facilities planning study is about 40 pages long. It states that the building was built in 1998, and since it was the approximate center of St. Croix County, that's where the building should remain. And these are the people that you people had hired to investigate what should be done with that building. I feel that the County Board of Supervisors should read this report, if they haven't, before voting on selling or not selling that facility. The planning study is on a website if you want to pick it up. I've had other people have already got it and been able to read this thing. Not only does the Farm Service, Land and Water, and NRCS use the building, but also the Extension Service. And that's an important part for a lot of us that are in farming. We might go to Farm Service and walk down the hall because we have questions from the Extension Service about this year, how to handle all of our wetlands, how to handle our poor crops, what to do about our silage that we're not getting. The building is also used by the Sheriff's Department. It's been brought up about the 4-H using the meeting hall. Okay, the meeting hall is used 294 times a year. That's a lot of meetings there, about 1.2 times a day that different groups are using it. I have a copy here, if anybody cares to look at it. They have to keep attendance all the time of who's using that building. As it was pointed out, 4-H has, they have 20 different committees that use that building, and they use it 83 times a year. Now that's a lot of meetings for these kids to go to, 83 times a year. They're going to have to come over here to Hudson to meet. Like I said, I think that that area of 4-H people are going to go downhill. And what is the 4-H? There are possible future farmers. Most of us getting to the age we want to say, the heck with it, we're quitting. I want to go south for the winter, like the ducks do. They're smart, not us. It just scares me to think that people or the kids will come over here to Hudson for an evening meeting or on a weekend, or the parents will take them. I feel that any decisions for the sale of this meeting should be delayed for a couple of weeks so the county and the feds can come to an agreement on the rental space, the rental rates. Does the county have to make money on the rental of that building? Do they make money on the nursing home? I doubt it. They spend money every year. Why, as taxpayers, are we expected to, or the government expected to pay for the services that the county, I think, should help render to us? So there should be an agreement on the rental rates. Also, delaying any decision would give our local papers, and I've talked to the Baldwin Bulletin, the Country Today, Ag Review, a chance to put articles in the paper so the average person that doesn't even know about this sale can be advised. So many people, and I've met many farmers in my business and my work. I'm chairman of the town of West River. Hadn't even heard about it. They were amazed. And this isn't right, how something like this would be going out of the covers for a sale. And at least by having it postponed for a while, different people from around the county will be able to talk to you supervisors and tell them what their opinions are, what they feel, what they think they should be done with that building. Not just to have one or two people say yes or no. And in closing, this morning I happened to think of something. I'm sure you've all heard Kenny Rogers' song, Why You're Leaving Me, Lucille? Okay. They got 4 hungry children a crop in the field, all right? Right now, we have a half a crop in the field, and I feel that you as the county board is leaving us. Thank you.
Did you want to sing that song, Don, or?
I could, but my voice isn't that good. Maybe she could do it for me.
Gerald Croix. Do I pronounce that correctly?
It's like the blackbird wants to go different.
I'm Gerald Croix.
I live in the town of Stanton. I'm the first advisor on the county or town board. And I'm also here to represent St. Croix County Farmers Union, which is really supporting the Ag Center. Agriculture is my blood. I've farmed all my life. I fought hard in 1998 when they tried closing down when they were moving the old Ag Center out. They wanted to maybe move it with Pierce County, blah, blah, blah. I signed a petition to get what we got today. Now today, I'm here to fight it again. I am a supporter of ag. One thing that bothered me, I think Mr. Thompson was quite surprised last Wednesday night, the turnout we had at the Ag Center. And like Mr. Schumacher said, we call a lot of people just trying to wake up the fact of what's going on. And everybody says, why haven't we heard about this? I said, I don't know. And I asked last Wednesday night, it seems like a secret. They said, well, it's not, but that's what everybody says. But one thing I want to point out, last Wednesday night, Mr. Thompson said, and it makes sense to one extent, but the other side is a total flop. He said when they voted for the Health and Human Services building, they thought that was the core of the people that work in the area, which I agree. Where is the core of agriculture? It's in St. Croix County at Baldwin. That is where agriculture is. We need to support this severely. If we don't keep on this, and agriculture is more important today than ever. And agriculture is a trying time now. Everything goes up, our prices go down. We need to support it. A little bit about 4-H I want to say is what we said here today is 100% true, and I'll guarantee it, it's right on the wall. If you move 4-H to Hudson, it is going to disappear. And we, the people of St. Croix County, have put up 2 dairy barns, and that's very important there, and we want to keep these barns full. And if 4-H goes down, these barns are going to go empty, and it's going to be, and everybody's going to say, where did our fair go? I'm just very supportive of keeping this Ag Center. We need to keep it there. Like they said, many times, I go to the FSA office, I go to the other side, the land conservation, we do paper, and it saves me trips. And another thing also is, when I go to Baldwin, I do business at Value Input, I do feed business, I do a lot of agriculture business in the area. What is in Hudson for me? Nothing. I should say nothing. Fleet Farm, farmers market. But, I mean, we got to keep this Ag Center in the center of the county. It's just very, very important. Thank you.
I have one more comment card. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in addition to Dale Kruschke? Do I pronounce that name correctly? Anyone else?
You did better on the last name than you did on the first. Dave.
You are exactly right. The W looks like an L.
The last name's the one that usually gets.
Well, welcome. You are the wrap-up speaker, so all the weight is on your shoulders, Dave.
Well, I guess I'm here. I'm a farmer from Stanton Township. Our family has farmed north of New Richmond. We've been in the same location for 103 years now. I'm also here representing Farm Bureau, and most of what I'm going to say you've already heard, but I was here in '98 was the last time I was to a county board meeting supporting building the Ag Center. And at that time, the idea was to build the Ag Center in Baldwin. It would serve us for many generations, and here you are a few years later and you want to get rid of it. 2/3 of the agriculture in St. Croix County is probably in the eastern half of the county. When we go to the Ag Center, everything is there. FSA is there. You have to go to land conservation. Sometimes you have to go to natural resources. Everything's in the same building. You can cover it in one stop. We did pass a resolution at our recent annual meeting supporting to keep the Ag Center as it is. This is one issue I have never seen so many farmers get irritated in such a quick time. But the biggest thing is to keep the Ag Center in Baldwin the way it is, and to keep the FSA in there with it, because it's a one-stop shop, and that's the way it was set up, and that's the way it should continue. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone from the public that spoke today, and for all of those that are here and didn't speak but are listening. We appreciate it very much. This is probably the biggest audience that we've had for a period of time, and we appreciate it. With that, I see that we're a little past 9:30, and we had indicated to the 4-H ambassadors that at about 9:30 we would be ready for their presentation. So I just see Marie went across. I believe that Nancy Berman is going to give a brief presentation on behalf of the 4-H ambassadors. And then I also believe that the 4-H clubs are going to do their annual presentation of serving us ice cream and treats across the hall. So while we're waiting for Nancy to come forward, I would say just parenthetically and personally, I still consider myself a farm boy, and I was a 10-year member of 4-H. So it's with a lot of pleasure that I invite my good friend Nancy Berman forward and ask her not to embarrass me in public, but the microphone is yours, Nancy.
Thank you very much. Now you know who I am. What I do with the 4-H program is I am one of the advisors to the 4-H ambassadors, and they are the young people that come from all different clubs and get together as a group to promote 4-H throughout the whole county. We have 3 of those young people here to share with you today, Becca and Sarah and Mark. It's real easy to tell which one Mark is. So if you would come forward, all 3 of you at once, that'll make life real easy. And they're going to share with you some of their experiences in the 4-H program.
Hi, my name is Becca Thomas. I'm a junior this year, so I'm in 11th grade, and I'm in the Golden Fireballs 4-H Club, which is in Roberts, Wisconsin. I've been in 4-H for 10 years now and have had a lot of fun throughout the whole time. This past summer, 4-H gave me the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. on a trip called the Citizenship Washington Focus. I learned a lot on this trip, including things about leadership, government, and history. While I was there, one of the things that I enjoyed the most was something that we called congressional session, which was like a mock congressional session that we had. And that taught me a lot about how our government writes and passes bills, which has been so applicable in life, especially right now with the arguments in government over the spending bills and the recent government shutdown today. I just want to thank you so much for all the support that you have given to 4-H over the years. It has just allowed me and so many of my friends to have so many great opportunities throughout the county and the country and meet a lot of new friends. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Chevalier, and I am from the Lone Pine 4-H Club. I am a junior in high school and have been involved within the 4-H program for the past 4 years. When I was told to write a speech to present today about something that has helped me grow as a person through 4-H, I decided to share with you all about our county's ambassador program, which is actually the reason why I'm here today. I am just finishing up my 2nd year as a St. Croix County 4-H ambassador, and let me tell you, it's been quite a ride. When I first joined the ambassador program in 2011, I hardly knew anything about 4-H compared to what I know now. It has been an amazing chance to meet so many new people from all around the county, see what and who makes the wheels turn around at different events, gain leadership skills, and so much more. Because of this program, I have also found a passion in 4-H to get even more involved. I am applying for various trips, looking for new opportunities, and having an amazing time along the way. Thank you so much for helping provide a chance for me to be able to do all this and so much more.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Jacobson. I've been in 4-H for 11 years, going on my 12th year, and I am a senior at St. Croix Central High School. This past year at my school was a tough year for me. 3 kids from my school committed suicide, 2 of them including to be my best friends. It's been a difficult road for me, but 4-H friends have been there for me through the past. 4-H has given me leadership skills and also friends. Without my friends, I couldn't have made it through the times that I've had. And I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in 4-H through this county.
Thank you, all three of you, and we would like to invite you to join us for ice cream sundaes, including Cool Ready Whip on top. I got told we'd better have the whipped cream. So, it is also, next week is National 4-H Week. Yes, and so you have already, have they heard from you? No, not yet, you will. Okay. So as you go around the county, look in some of the store windows. I can tell you that these young people have made a sign that will be up at the Animal Care Center to promote 4-H. And so those signs will be all over the county next week and something kind of fun to watch for. So come join us for ice cream.
Board members, join me in a round of appreciation. We will stand informal for, we will reconvene at straight up 10 o'clock. Board members, it's 10 o'clock. Let's reassemble.
I know you've been eyeing the shirt. I'll borrow it to you next
I have
next month.
definitely been eyeing that shirt.
My wife, that's
Board members, during our break, one board member did observe that after ice cream, everything is anticlimactic. So, we'll try and keep your level of interest up. But I would agree. I've always considered ice cream a separate food group. So, after ice cream, everything is anticlimactic. First of all, we maybe were negligent in one item previously, and that is some of you may be wondering who this new person is up here occupying the Corp Council chair. For those of you that do not know Liz, let me introduce Liz Roll. Liz is in the Corp Council office, Assistant Corporation Counsel, and so by virtue of the fact that we currently have a vacancy in the office of Corp Counsel, Liz is here to keep me in line, and she's fallen down a couple times in my pronunciation, so welcome Liz, and thank you for being here. And with that, I would like to turn the podium over to Administrator Thompson for a presentation in the Victim Witness Provider Award, and I believe you're going to introduce the DA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On May 16th, 2013, Pam Bell Richard, who is our Victim Witness Coordinator for St. Croix County, was awarded the 2013 Crime Victim Service Award for Outstanding Victim Advocacy by a victim service provider. And this is a statewide association that recognized Pam's work for St. Croix County and recognizes and appreciates her extraordinary service and dedication to the victims of crime in St. Croix County. This award on May 16th, 2013 was presented to Pam by Attorney General J.B. Van Hollen at the Wisconsin Victim Witness Professional Association's annual conference. And it was brought to my attention during a budget meeting that the district attorney, Rick Johnson, and myself and the finance director were having, and we were talking about the victim witness budget, and they brought this to our attention, and it seemed appropriate to bring forward Pam to recognize her for her fine work this past year. And all of you know that it was a busy year for the district attorney's office and the victim witness coordinator's office with all the activity in the court trial that took place here. And her work is recognized statewide She's one of the best victim witness coordinators in the state of Wisconsin by far. It gives me great pleasure to introduce her boss, the district attorney, Rick Johnson, who will say a few words, and then we will present the award to Pam. I should say, re-present the award to Pam that she has already received. Rick?
Thank you, Pat. On the afternoon of July 10th, 2012, Aaron Schaffhausen murdered his 3 young daughters. This event would trigger significant involvement by many groups here in St. Croix County. Law enforcement, the media, the community, the courts, and my office, to name a few of these groups. Pam Bell-Richard, who heads our victim witness office, immediately took action on this. She made contact with the family of the murdered girls, including the mother, and offered the services of the victim witness program. This began an incredible example of dedication, hard work, and sacrifice by Pam to do everything she could to make the court system as easy and less traumatic as possible. This included many almost daily phone calls, meetings, messages, making arrangements, anything that would make the process easier. In addition, before and during the trial, Pam and her office was responsible for organizing witness arrangements, travel plans, and assisting in their testifying schedule. During this trial in April, we had over 100 witnesses. These witnesses came from all over the country. And Pam's office is the one that took care of all these arrangements, travel arrangements, making sure that they weren't here too long, that they would come on the right day when they were testifying. And of course, testifying, this is all fluid. Sometimes you're planning on having the guy testify one day and then he testifies another day. So this is also an extraordinary task. There were hundreds of hours of work behind the scenes in this. In addition to the long hours, there was a stress of the nature of the case in dealing with the raw emotions of this type of case. People that follow this case cannot understand how the specifics of the disturbing nature of this case can affect people that are closely involved with it. Law enforcement, prosecutors, defense attorneys, victim witness. It's a very difficult case. Again, Pam stepped forward on this. She spent hundreds, perhaps thousands of hours making sure that the process worked and that the process that these people weren't victimized, re-victimized again. There's a lot of offshoots on what happened here. I think I've talked to the victim's family. They had nothing but great things to say about Pam in the office. One of the offshoots is that her daughter actually started this program, and I'm going to have Pam tell you about it, but started to raise money to make a playground and a community park out in River Falls in dedication to these children. And I think you've raised over $100,000, right? So there's a lot of things on this, but I think Pam is an example of an employee here in St. Croix County that really stepped forward when times were tough and that people needed her assistance. The state of Wisconsin has recognized Pam's efforts, and this summer, the Attorney General awarded her as recognition Victim Witness Coordinator of the Year, which of course is a significant honor. Pam deserved this award. Pam's work is a credit to our Victim Witness Office, St. Croix County, and the judicial system. Congratulations, Pam. Come on up.
Pat said I could say a few words, so I will. I just want to say thank you, Pat and Rick. I'm very humbled and honored to receive the recognition, but I could not have done this alone. So I just want to recognize my office. Without them, the last year would have been impossible to deal with. They really stepped up to the plate to help out with the coordination of not only the Schaffhausen case, but the day-to-day activities in the Victim Witness Office, and I am so blessed and thankful and appreciate them so much. So I'd like to recognize Selena Peterson, Karen Winberg, and Jill Besker from the Victim Witness Office also. If you guys would stand, I think you deserve a round of applause as well. Thank you. Thank you.
So Pam, congratulations again. This is the award that she received from the Attorney General, J.B. Van Hollen. It says Outstanding Victim Advocacy by a Victim Service Provider, presented to Pam Bell Richard, St. Croix County Victim Witness Coordinator, in recognition of and appreciation for extraordinary service and dedication to victims of crime. Congratulations. Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Chad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Thank you. Why don't you move right ahead,
Okay.
Pat, into our presentation to Lisa Leahy.
Yes, we have another recognition of an outstanding employee for St. Croix County. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Lisa Leahy. Lisa was named recently the 2013 Social Worker of the Year by the Wisconsin Nursing Home Social Workers Association at their annual convention last month. The following excerpts are taken from Lisa's nomination letter summarizing the care and pride she has shown in her 30 plus years, I think it's actually 33 years, of service at the St. Croix County Healthcare Center. Now just think about it, 33 years working at the healthcare center. And I mean, that just speaks volumes, and I don't think I need to say any more, but that just shows the level of dedication and service from Lisa. She was nominated by Sandy Heckenmuller, and Sandy is our director of nursing out at the nursing home. Sandy wrote in her nomination that Lisa not only touches, kind of makes me choke up, she not only touches their hands at the nursing home, but Lisa also touches their heart. Lisa's leadership, spirit, and pride are evident on a daily basis. She cares about everyone and everything. And those of you that have been out to the nursing home, if you're out there, stop in Lisa's office. She displays all the cards and notes and little pictures over the years that she has collected from patients that she has worked with and patients' families. And it's just an outstanding example of the care and love that Lisa provides on a daily basis. She will help with anything because she is part of a team and takes great pride in the facility. Lisa has always been innovative as a social worker, leader, and an employee. And most recently, when we were going through an interim period without an administrator at the nursing home, Lisa stepped up out of her comfort zone and said, Pat, I'll help out in any way possible during this transition. In fact, Lisa acted as interim administrator and began taking coursework towards receiving eventually her accreditation as a nursing home administrator. We filled the position, and Lisa and I talked about the fact that we wanted her to stay on, most definitely in her current capacity, although she's not the administrator of the facility. She's at a very high level director of all the activities in social work at the facility. Lisa displays knowledge and service. She's proactive in her day-to-day work and constantly strives to improve the delivery of care and service at our nursing home. And the St. Croix County Nursing Home is a 5-star facility. Lisa Leahy is a 5-star employee. And so I would like to present, Lisa, if you'd come up, please, the award that Lisa received from the Wisconsin Nursing Home Social Workers Association. And this was a 2013 award. This plaque is presented to the social worker who has demonstrated the best of the profession's values: innovation, leadership, integrity, service, compassion, spirit, and pride. Lisa, thank you.
I'd just like to say thanks to Sandy, really. I am not really a person that
looks for this kind of thing, so I appreciate it immensely. And it's because of the residents, and it's because of the staff and the families that I work with that I'm there. So thank you very much to the board also. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Lisa. Do you want a picture, John? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. As long as you're here, just move over a minute.
Oh.
I just finally get an honor. I get to present an award to somebody.
Oh, okay.
At least a recognition. A number of us were in Madison last week for the Wisconsin Counties Association Conference, and one of the persons that was there with us was our administrator, Pat Thompson, which I appreciate, and it shows a level of dedication that is indicative, I think, of the service and dedication that he brings to St. Croix County. The reason that that's significant is that if he had not been in Madison with us, he would have been in Boston at the ICMA conference, at which time he would have received the award that we're presenting him today. So get back over here. I don't think this is a total surprise to you, since you probably read the agenda.
Which was amended at the last minute.
And I can tell you that Pat was really reluctant to have this on the agenda, but he has some very dedicated and some aggressive staff, and they made sure that we did in fact get this on the agenda, because I think it's indicative of the service that he brings and the dedication to St. Croix County, and it underscores why we are fortunate to have him as our administrator. This is the award of 30 years of service to local government, and I'm simply going to read what is inscribed on this plaque, and it's from the ICMA, which is the County City Managers Association, Leaders at the Core of Better Communities. And it simply says, in honor of 30 years of service to local government, Patrick J. Thompson is recognized for significant contributions and achievements in the advancement of local government administration. And then it goes on to say, presented at the 99th ICMA Annual Conference in Boston, September 25th, 2013. Now, of course, it was presented in absentia since you weren't there, but it's appropriate that we recognize you for 30 years of service.
Thanks.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you wish to make any comments to the board?
They're tired of hearing from me. So.
Join me in a round of applause. One of the responsibilities of an administrator is to make appropriate appointments, staff appointments. As you are aware, we currently have a vacancy in the Office of Corporation Counsel. That is the reason that we are graced with the presence of Liz Roll today. But we are anticipating that we would have a new person in that seat next month. And I'm going to call on Administrator Thompson to give some information on the process that we arrived at for an appointment. This appointment will be presented to the board for confirmation. So after Pat has some comments and introduces Mr. Cox, then the chair would entertain a motion to confirm the appointment of our corporation counsel. Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the candidate for corporation counsel. As I spoke at our last meeting, we had approximately 17 candidates, applicants for the position. We advertised the position locally, regionally, for the corporation counsel position after Don Gillen had submitted his intent to retire from the position, and we recognized Don at last month's meeting. Liz Roll, we're blessed to have Liz Roll as an assistant corporation counsel, and Liz has filled in the last month and a half while we were going through the search process. The chairman of the board and myself and our human resources director interviewed 4 of the top qualified candidates, and we're pleased to bring forward our recommendation to the board for Mr. Scott Cox to replace Don Gillen as corporation counsel. I'll run through a brief bio of Mr. Cox and then introduce him to the board, and he may say a few words to the board. Scott grew up in Crivitz, Wisconsin, graduated from Crivitz High School in 1981. He attended UW Oshkosh for 2 semesters actually, and then transferred to the UW Madison and attended UW Madison for the years 1980 through 1985, majoring in economics and international relations. In 1989, Scott received his law degree from the UW Madison. He has 17 years experience as a corporation counsel in a neighboring county to the east, Dunn County. He has 2 years experience as assistant corporation counsel in Dunn County as well, and was promoted to the corporation counsel position in 1993 in Dunn County. He also brings 5 years experience as a private attorney that Scott was involved in prior to his corporation counsel work with Dunn County. He is married, has 1 child. His wife's name is Mary Cox. I believe she's employed in the Eau Claire County District Attorney's Office. They have 1 child named Lily, and Lily is a freshman at Carleton College in the Twin Cities metro area. So I'd like to introduce at this time Scott Cox. If the board has any questions for Mr. Cox, feel free to ask him and he'll say a few words. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Pat.
Good morning. It's a pleasure for my name to be nominated or for confirmation by Mr. Thompson as Corporation Counsel for St. Croix County. I enjoy the law. I especially enjoy the law that the Corporation Counsel's office gets involved with. I thought this morning, how many board meetings have I been to? And approximately 200 board meetings, county board meetings I've been to in my career. I hope that it is many more here. I bring to you an amount of enthusiasm and a willingness to serve the board, to do whatever I can to make this progressive county better. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
It's amazing to find this group at a loss for words, as you will learn. Supervisor from District 5. 6.
Mr. Chairman, as the only lawyer on the board at the current time, I'd like the honor of making the motion to confirm the appointment of Mr. Cox. I've had my eye on him for a long time, actually. And to the rest of you, I would say, you know, if you, from the viewpoint of a lawyer deeply involved in county matters that sometimes get into county law, this fellow has done an excellent job for Dunn County, and I'm sure he'll do a good job for us.
Motion to confirm the appointment from Board Member Malick. Is there a second? Second from Board Member Peterson. You prepared? Board members, proceed to vote on the confirmation of Mr. Cox as Corporation Counsel. And with great pleasure, I'm able to indicate to you that you have been unanimously confirmed, and you will also learn that we don't do a lot of things unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the board on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think I failed to mention that Scott's first day on the job will be November 4th, which is also his birthday.
That's correct.
So we'll have a cake waiting for you when you get here.
Board members, I would direct your attention to a number of annual department reports that were contained in your board packet. Those reports, by way of identification for those that would be watching this on local cable, are annual reports from the Community Development Department, an annual report from the Register of Deeds, an annual report from UW Extension, and an annual report from the Fair Board. Are there any questions that any board member has with respect to any of those annual reports as you reviewed them and digested them in preparation for this meeting? And is there anyone from any of those departments that wants to highlight anything that was indicated in those reports? Okay. And with that, we will move on to the County Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item in the report is the monthly financials. And you've had those in your packet to review. Are there any questions? Tabitha Hanson, the Finance Director, is present to answer any questions you might have regarding the monthly financial report. No questions. I will also make a note that the 2014 budget process is well underway. Tabitha and I are meeting with department heads and requesting for additional revisions to budgets to bring us to a balanced bottom line. We're still a ways off. All the standing committees have had a review of the budgets. It's not balanced. We're ways off. As I've said, we're going back and meeting with those department heads that we feel might have some areas within their budgets that we can make revisions to, both on the expenditure side or the revenue side. So Tabitha's scheduling those meetings, and we met with the sheriff yesterday and the director of Health and Human Services, the highway commissioner, and I think we have a few more scheduled. So we have a ways to go, but we'll get there. We'll present the budget to you on October 23rd as the committee of the whole. We'll go through a pretty good level of detail at that point. And then the county board will have an opportunity to weigh in on certain parts of the budget, and then you take it up again on November 5th, I believe, for final approval. Okay. That's it for that part.
Capital projects portion, Pat?
Thanks. Thank you. Sure. Thanks. All right. This is the second part of my report. Push that button here. Okay. What we'll do here is run through a capital projects update you on the status of the capital projects that are currently underway. A lot of this is repetitive, but we'll continue to go through it and update you with certain slides that have additional new information. The three capital projects, the expansion of the 911 and the relocation of the Emergency Operations Center, the relocation of the Health and Human Service Department, and the deconstruction of the Health and Human Services building once it is vacated. The expansion of the 911 and relocation of the Emergency Operations Center, we are at stage 3. The RFP 3 construction was issued July 25th to Keller Construction. The amount of the contract is $973,659. That expansion will begin this month. It already technically has begun, and it will be completed by January 2014. That is the layout, the design layout of the 911 and Emergency Operations Center. That has not changed since the last time we met. The consolidation project, the study to merge St. Croix County and Pierce County's 911 centers, the study is well underway. There has been one work group meeting. We're scheduled to meet again tomorrow. These are the staff work group, the staffs from Pierce County and St. Croix County, working through the study, working through the issues that the consultant is bringing to the table. There's also been some community meetings scheduled with the emergency service providers, the consultants meeting with all the stakeholders, and the study is off to a good start. The final report is due December 13th, and the results of that will be brought before the Pierce and St. Croix County boards for discussion and any decision moving forward. Yes, Supervisor Malick?
If you told us, I've forgotten, how many workstations does the Pierce County 911 center have?
Casey Swetlig is here. I want to say 2, but it could be. They staff 2 and they can go up to 3. We currently have a configuration of 4. We're designing the center to accommodate up to 8 dispatch consoles. We only plan to equip 6, but there's room for 8. So our center will be able to accommodate the merger if it goes that route. The second part of the project is the relocation of the Health and Human Service employees. The plan of action, as you've seen before, the purchasing of the former county market building, the new St. Croix County Services Center in New Richmond. Purchase price of $1.28 million that we have closed on that property. We're in the process of designing the build-out for the Health and Human Services Department. The plan is to relocate all Health and Human Service departments, including ADRC and Vets Service Officer, to the new St. Croix County Services Center in New Richmond. That should be completed by mid-2014, and the move taking place shortly thereafter. As the administration committee has authorized, and we'll go into this in a little more detail, some of the discussion that we had today, the administration committee has authorized the marketing of the Ag Center building, list within 30 days. Any and all offers and terms would be brought back in front of this board for final approval. And then lastly, out years of 5 to 10 years, a future expansion of the courts in the government center. The St. Croix County Services Center of New Richmond. The design by Hoffman Planning and Design will take approximately 3 months. The construction will take 6 months. The tentative completion and staff relocation June 2014. St. Croix County Services Center interior build-out, as I've said, design is underway, 28,500 approximately square feet. Final cost estimate not available yet. Additional departments added to the original footprint. ADRC, Veterans, Economic Support, Public Health, the backup 911, and EOC. We plan to continue our implementation of the results-only work environment, and that will have a bearing on the cost of the build-out. We're not going to be building individual offices. I mean, some staff people will have offices, but the design will include temporary workstations where employees can continue to row or be mobile. They can plug in with their laptops and technology, but they won't have a permanent office. A lot of their work is done out in the field. To try to keep the cost of the build-out down, we're going to try to be aggressive in terms of our implementation of row in the design. The site and equipment costs, the fact that we own the building, that we're building it out as an owner, not as a temporary tenant. In other words, originally if the HVAC I mean, we probably wouldn't have been building out if we were leasing. We wouldn't be looking at upgrading potentially HVAC or putting in IT systems and security, dealing with the parking lot and landscaping issues. But we own the facility, so our build out will reflect that in the design. Switching gears a little bit, and I appreciate the feedback that we received this morning. And I appreciate the feedback and information that we received last Wednesday evening, September 25th. We had an informational meeting out at the Ag Center. We had in attendance plus 50 citizens, I would say well in excess of 50. Some of the objectives of the meeting were to explain our decision-making process regarding the Ag Center building, review historical information regarding facility planning decisions that have been made over the many years in St. Croix County, listen to the concerns, and answer questions. I am going to continue that outreach with the agricultural community. I've written down the names of individuals that spoke this morning. Jackie, I don't know if Jackie is still here. I spoke with her this morning. I will continue to outreach with her and representatives of the agricultural community to develop a model, if the building sells, to try to develop a model based on the issues and concerns that they have expressed. And so just because we had one informational meeting, that doesn't mean that the dialogue will cease, it will continue. We're not bringing forward a proposal today or anytime soon to sell the Ag Center building. The administration committee has authorized the marketing and the solicitation of bids, and those ultimately would be brought back before the board for consideration. But in the meantime, I will continue to work with Ellen and her staff and Bob Heisey and his staff, working with Jackie and Don and some of the others that we heard from this morning, to try to put together a model that will work. I had a meeting with the St. Croix Industries advisory team that we put together that was working on the RFP regarding the transition for St. Croix Industries. And as you recall, a couple of months ago, we had a boardroom full of parents and providers and recipients of that service. We listened to their concerns. We met with them over the months, and I had one of the gentlemen that was very vocal a couple months ago regarding the transitioning out of St. Croix Industries, and actually came up to me after that meeting in New Richmond. This was about 2 weeks ago, and he shook my hand and he said, "Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for listening to us and incorporating some of our concerns and issues into the RFP that will go out for transitioning St. Croix Industries." I bring that up as an example of the fact that we will continue to listen to the residents and to the farming community and the agricultural community. That if and when a decision is made by this board, that we will be able to demonstrate that we have a model that could work for everyone. The administration committee, its responsibilities to the board are long-term facility planning, acquisition, sale, and use of county land, and review of the use of space in county buildings. That's their charge, and that's what they're doing. The Ag Center expansion, one of the questions that came up at our informational meeting, and I didn't have this slide prepared, but we prepared it after that meeting because and the question that came up was, why aren't you looking at adding on to the Ag Center and, moving employees out there? Well, we did look at that in June of this year. We had an architectural engineer look at that, and the information that he provided back is listed here. He was looking at a 10,000 square foot addition to the existing 15,000 square feet that are out there now. On the first floor, we have approximately 15,000 square feet in the Ag Center building on the main level and 5,000 square feet of storage in the basement or the lower level. So we're looking at a 10,000 square foot addition, estimated cost of $3 to $3.4 million estimated as a budgetary cost for that addition. and he projected 18 to 24 month construction for an addition. Now, that was June of this past year. We were in the same process of looking at leasing space for the Health and Human Services building. We asked for proposals, they came back, we compared the cost of leasing to purchasing, and a decision was made to purchase the county market facility and build that out for the Health and Human Services building. So comparing the $1.28 million for the purchase and then build out 27,000, actually it's going to be about 28,500 square feet build out, was approximately $3 million. And could be completed by June of 2014. So that's just a recap of information. So the point is that we did look at that. Administration Committee direction there, I won't spend time on that. Forward a resolution approving the sale to the board. Any and all offers would be contingent on board approval. The strategic initiatives, and we went over this as a board and approved the strategic initiatives. You know, we always go back to this and we try to say, okay, recommendations we're bringing to the board, how are we, you know, where does it fit within the strategic initiatives? Continuous improvement, we're trying to improve service delivery and the responsible use of tax dollars. And then the growth management, safety and health, and continued outreach to the board, to the public, both internal and external. The ag building details, as I've just said, there's approximately 15,000 square feet on the main level. The federal departments occupy approximately 3,200. County departments, 2,800. There's common space of approximately 5,000 square feet. And then unassigned space that's currently just unoccupied or unassigned. And then basement storage of approximately 5,000 square feet. That's just a pictorial of the underutilized space on the main level. Ag Center property. After the FSA and NRCS vacate at the end of the year, as I've said before, there will be approximately 20 Community Development Department and UW Extension staff in approximately 15,000 square feet on the main level. Those community development employees, those divisions, would be co-joined with the rest of the community development department in the government center. The build out of the former county market, the New Richmond Government Services Center in New Richmond will have space for the backup 911 and EOC. Cost to maintain the Ag Center building is approximately $55,000 a year. That's utilities and all the work that is done by our facilities department to maintain the facility. The sale proceeds would reduce future debt and tax levy. And there was a question that came up about that at our informational meeting, and I think one gentleman said it would not be used for that, but it would be. Functional alignment. The Community Development Department, we reorganized and we consolidated divisions within that area into one department. And so all those departments are now part of the Community Development Department. We're looking at job responsibilities and departmental assignments to try to create efficiencies as we provide services to the public. And as I said, continue ROW implementation. We're trying to improve our service delivery model. Now, that will, that's where this outreach with Jackie and a few others, we will try to, if and when the decision is made to sell the Baldwin Ag Center, to make sure that we have a service delivery model that will work for everyone. So the message has not been lost. We need to continue as an organization, and not just in this department, but improve service delivery. And that's what we're trying to do. The FSA and NRCS, the federal tenants, they occupy 3,200 square feet. 1,600 feet approximately of that is file storage. You heard a little bit about that this morning. The Washington DC office, which is who we were directed to deal with, we have been in touch with in terms of trying to renegotiate that lease, and we were not successful. The local and state agents were not authorized to negotiate. In fact, the gentleman that brought up one of the names of a state representative we did talk to at one point, and we were told by him that he had no authority to negotiate on the lease. And so he was the one that directed us to Washington. There's just a rundown. We've heard it all, but I mean, we did present terms, reasonable terms, we felt. There had been no rental increase since 2002. We were requesting them to reduce their footprint by moving some file storage to the lower level. They rejected these terms. They did issue an RLP for lease space in Baldwin. They asked the county to submit a proposal, but on terms that they had already rejected. And so I directed staff not to complete the RFP. Now we heard this morning that they would still consider it. Well, we have not heard that directly from Washington. So, I mean, I appreciate the information that someone heard from the state representative that they might entertain still looking at a proposal, but it would be based on terms that they've clearly rejected. Next steps, the real estate broker selection would take place prior to October 25th. If there are reasonable offers, we would bring them forward to the board. The New Richmond Services Center build-out will be completed. It will include meeting rooms, sizable meeting rooms for community development, UW Extension staff, the 4-H group. Extension has a lot of night meetings, so they currently use one of the classrooms in the Baldwin Ag Center. The design of the New Richmond build-out will include public meeting rooms that will be at the front of the building with access to restroom facilities, and the rest of the building would be closed off, so it wouldn't be accessible for the rest of the building, but there will be meeting rooms up in front that will be available pretty much round the clock for meeting groups. The 2014 bonding will, we will continue to utilize the auction proceeds of $3.3 million, but as I've said before, the 911 infrastructure build out and any other capital projects, we will need to issue government obligation bonds sometime in 2014, probably mid-year, to complete those capital projects. The sale of the Ag Center could offset bonding totals and debt service, depending on timing. Expenditures to date, well, I shouldn't say to date, but as of the end of August, there they are. We've spent $58,000 on the 911 expansion so far. We had earnest money on the purchase of the county market, and we've spent some monies in terms of site remediation cleanup in New Richmond. Questions? Supervisor Schachtner?
I'm confused on how this is different from the land sale when you're talking about directing the funds towards tax levy and that, because when we did the auction for the land sale, we had, the board as a whole had to approve a special exception in order to designate the funds to the projects for HHS and the 911 center. So how is this sale different? Otherwise, from my understanding, we didn't change anything on how.
No, the rule of the board is that the sale of county assets, land or assets, will be used to reduce debt service unless otherwise authorized by the board. So if the Ag Center building is sold, the proceeds of the sale would be used to offset debt service unless authorized by the board to be used for capital projects. The board, when we sold the vacant farmland in New Richmond, authorized the sale of those proceeds to be used for these capital projects. It was part of that authorization.
I guess, okay, so then I guess my second question is we're focusing on improving government, granting government services. Or
Providing?
Of providing government services to the locality and to our constituents. How is it, I just don't understand the justification between we're trying to do better, but everything is in one location. Because if FSA moves, they're not moving in this direction. They'll probably stay in Baldwin. DNR's not moving. So wouldn't it be making it more difficult on the farming community if we move that and just making it more convenient for the county?
Of those six, of
Pat,
those,
Pat, Supervisor, I'm not ruling you out of order, but I would caution all of us to get too far into a discussion of this specific item because it's not on our agenda, and I'm very sensitive to open meeting requirements. So the presentation of information and a generic question or comment from you would be appropriate, but I would disabuse us from getting into a discussion on the disposition of that building because it's not agenda and we would potentially violate open meeting statutes. So proceed.
of the 20 employees that make up the Community Development Department at UW Extension that would be relocated to the Government Center in Hudson, approximately 6 or 7 of those employees, and that some of those are part-time, some are full-time. Approximately 6 to 7 employees are actually involved with working with the agricultural community. In other words, when the farmers, when they speak to coming into FSA, they'll take care of their paperwork there, and then they meet with Kyle or Bob Heisey or one of his staff people. We have approximately 6 to 7 employees, and then Ryan in UW Extension, who is the ag agent. The service delivery model that I speak of we're looking at employees working in the community. In other words, we take our services, in this instance, to the agricultural community. And so it will require some coordination with FSA if they choose to stay in Baldwin, and to continue to try to provide that service level that the agricultural community has come to expect. In other words, when they stop in at FSA and then they walk over to the other side of the building, if some of Bob's people are there, they're able to meet with them. If they're not, they set up an appointment or they set up some time. In a service model that I'm looking at, they would actually be working more out in the community, and so they don't have to come to Hudson to meet with our people, with Bob or Kyle or Ryan. They don't have to come to Hudson to meet with them. We can go to them. Supervisor Dave. Ostness, Supervisor Ostness.
Can you back up one slide? It says any other capital costs which exceed auction proceeds. We're still talking with the bonding of 911 and HHS only, no other capital costs, correct?
Right. Well, there will be any and all capital projects that exceed the 3.3 million.
For those two areas?
For
Only those two
the
areas,
911 infrastructure, and we need to build out County Market. We need to deconstruct the Health and Human Services building, which we don't have estimates for yet.
Right.
But that building, once it's vacated, needs to come down. And we've already done preliminary work on that, but that there will be costs there, so it will fund more than just those two.
Yep, no, I understand that.
Okay.
But I mean, relating to HHS and 911, that's the only reason or the only money that's going to be bonded for.
Correct.
Correct?
We're correct. And that resolution will be brought to the administration committee. It will be brought to the board, and it will detail, in great detail, what the bond proceeds would be used for. So if there's an item that, we're going through budgets right now for 2014. There were a couple items listed in the budget that are huge dollar amounts that would really drive up our budget. What I will be discussing with the board when we present the budget is that rather than trying to put those expensive capital projects on the tax levy in the 2014 budget, there may be some discussion about including one or two of those big ticket projects in a bond resolution, but that would have to be approved by the board.
Thank you.
But at this point, that is not contemplated to issue debt for anything other than these projects here. Supervisor Kiesler?
It's my understanding that the farm community feels that they need to come to us. It's my understanding that you feel we can go to them, and it seems to be causing a bit of angst on both sides. And so if we are to sell the Ag Center, would your administration be open at all to leasing space in or around Baldwin for a short-term period of time, a year, 6 months, 2 years, to allow for that type of transition, create some mobile sites, the row environment where you could hotel space there, and then prove to the farming community that your plan is working. It would be a minor outlay of county cost and expense, but I think potentially worth the investment to gain the trust and understanding that we're trying to meet them halfway, so to speak.
I think it's a very good point. We certainly made concessions when we were meeting with the providers for the St. Croix industry. We made regarding our facility there, the use of our facility, the use of our transportation vehicles, and we accommodated their concerns. And sure, we probably could have recommended that we sell the St. Croix industry building or we sell all our vehicles, but we made accommodations in that RFP. We said no, at least for the first year, or at least a temporary time, we're going to work with the provider to make that transition as smooth and seamless, to use the word, as possible. And so we will do everything we can, if and when we decide to do this, that we will make that transition the same, as seamless and smooth as possible. Good point. Supervisor Schachtner?
I just have one more question, and it's, do we know what the current market is for like that building in the area, or is that out of context? Because
I think now we would be getting into
a discussion. Okay.
A gray area.
Okay. Never mind.
I prefer to avoid. Not the subject, but not agended.
Yeah.
No other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Board members, we are ready to proceed with some potential action items. First item for consideration is consideration of an ordinance amending, repealing, and reenacting certain portions of Chapter 17. This comes to us from the Community Development Department, and I'm assuming that the chair of CDC has a presentation for us. Do you recognize the motion here?
What?
Were you not paying attention at our conference?
Right from the heart.
Right from...
Yes.
That's body language of trust. We learned all about body language in a seminar. So.
Thank you.
Chair Ring, I will turn it over to you for whatever brief presentation you want as far as education purposes for the board prior to entertaining a motion on the ordinance.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. What we're going to talk about today is the rezoning, and it's a major rezoning for farmland preservation in St. Croix County. The last time that we did a major rezoning was in the 1980s. And so over the term of the last few years, 2 or 3 years, a lot of work by a lot of people has gone into setting the stage for this. So the first stage was the Farmland Preservation Plan, which was adopted by the previous board in January of 2012, I believe. That, and then there was the county plan update. So that was adopted also in this, just about a year ago in November. So what the planning, in the planning process, what happens is that we set the vision of what we want to do. What kind of land uses do we want in the county? What do we want the county to look like? And in those processes, we engaged the, a lot of the townships and other entities and stakeholders in the entire town. So the county. So where we're at today, so those plans have been adopted. Again, they set the stage. The first, what we're going to talk about today, and there will be a presentation to get into more of what is actually accomplished with it and what the changes are, is a rezoning of this agricultural land. When you rezone, there's two pieces to that, and one is the narrative, or the terminology, the words that say, we're going to have these districts, and this is what the districts are, and this is what we want to include in these districts. So that's the piece of the work that we're doing today. After that, in the next year, the planning office will get, the community development office will work very closely with the townships to do the mapping portion of it. So when we, as a board, look at rezonings one-on-one, we are typically looking at map revisions, looking on the map and changing a district to one or the other. So the work of the mapping is yet to come. And again, that map, the mapping, when I say map, I mean that's the part of the zoning process that I'm talking about. So what I think you'll see in the presentation, and what I would like you to listen for as you hear Ellen and Amanda present, is that what I think is happening with our zoning ordinance is that it's really modernized. Agriculture has changed a lot. Big farms are getting bigger, but there's a lot of smaller farms that are also, there's more smaller farms. And what I think this ordinance does, it allows those farms to be, we can be a little bit more creative. It isn't, there's a lot of interest in local, growing food locally, serving, food locally. So we'd like to just build, this ordinance, I think, really updates it and allows that. And it also allows other uses related to the ag economy. So I think there's an economic development portion of that where we'll more agricultural and added value agricultural uses and agricultural, I think it's called entertainment or tourism. All of these things have been reconsidered. You're going to hear about two districts, Ag 1 and Ag 2, and again, I would just call those modern agricultural, they're modernized. Again, it's been 30 years since we did it. You're going to hear about, right now in exclusive Ag zones, there's a 35 minimum acre lot size, and that really is a barrier. This is an example of how we're changing it. That can be a barrier to someone who wants a small farm. If you want to have, a market garden, and it's hard, you don't need 35 acres to do that. You can feed a lot of people on 3 to 5 acres. So we have a minimum lot size that you'll hear about and a density standard. So we're going to manage the density, but have a smaller, but allow, I think remove the barrier by allowing a smaller lot size. So I think at this point I will, let's see, anything else I want to say? At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Ellen Denzer, our Community Development Director, and our Senior Planner, Amanda Engesether, and their staff who have worked very, very hard over these last few months just to provide an overview.
Ellen, why don't you come forward? While you're doing that, I would point out to the board that the comments you just listened to from Chair Ring, I would interpret as being trustworthy and sincere. She primarily gestured with her right hand in a palm-up motion, and she did not touch her face at all during the presentation. So it leads me to conclude that that was a trustworthy and honest presentation, and I appreciate that.
We're all going to have to get clued in
Oh,
We need that.
we now can interpret body language.
All right. I just want to be clued in, so I know I'm not goofing up. All right, good morning, and thank you for...
Ellen, just don't scratch your nose.
Okay,
That's a no-no.
okay. We'll try not to do that. All right. As you know, my name is Ellen Denzer. I am the Community Development Director, and with me today is Amanda Engesether, our Senior Planner. We do know that we did provide you with all of the language, the presentation that was made at the public hearing, and a summary of what we're going forward with for amendments to the County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 17. And so we are going to do an abbreviated presentation in order to keep your committee meeting, your county board meeting moving. I would like to just make a couple of opening comments. Yes, this has been a very long and involved process. It goes all the way back to the work we started for the Farmland Preservation Plan, which goes back another year and a half in addition to the work we have done in the past 9 months on the zoning ordinance. And we did our job right when we adopted the comprehensive plan and the farmland preservation plan. We said in there a lot of what we wanted to go forward with, and we hashed out a lot of the issues and concerns. And of course there were details, but a lot of those directions were already decided in the farmland preservation plan. We also very closely followed local community plans, city, village, town, especially town plans in that comprehensive plan and farmland preservation plan. And therefore, it seemed like this zoning process went really very, very smoothly. We had about 20 to 25 people at the public hearing last week. Many of the questions, they were all over the board, and there were a lot of them, but most of them seemed to be able to be addressed very quickly, explaining details and ordinance language that perhaps was not very understandable. We explained in great detail how we had started with a state model ordinance but adapted it very specifically to St. Croix County and changed it to address the differences in St. Croix County from other parts of the state. We are on the leading edge of this. The state has mandated that all counties will update their farmland preservation plan, and we were in the very first group of counties that had to do that. They set deadlines based on population growth. So this is one time when our population growth meant we won the lottery of being first, and having to do this without a lot of examples from other parts of the state. So there are a few other counties in the state that have done farmland preservation plans, but they are and ordinances, but they're very different from ours because they face very different challenges. And so Amanda was very challenged to try to come up with new and innovative language that addressed the issues in our county. We also can say that while we had many questions last week, we had not that many specific comments. The comments were down to less probably than a half a dozen that were actually directive to specific changes. And we also had about a half a dozen email comments. The board committee, did extensively discuss all of those comments and chose to make only one amendment based on comments to the proposed ordinance. So it is presented to you almost in its entirety as it was presented at the public hearing, and the change that was made was a very good one to move two specific uses, U-pick facilities and farm stands from a conditional use to a use permitted by land use permit, which makes it unlimited as far as how much people can do of that except for size regulations, and also makes it more straightforward as far as number of days of operation. And we did that by simply moving it from one definition to another, and that was a really quick and easy and efficient change, so it was a very good way to go forward. Amanda's going to give you a quick overview of some of the things that are new and that will be different, so that you refresh the memories for everyone who's had a chance to read through the packet, and then we will answer questions. And we will, as Agnes was explaining, we will just add that this is the beginning of actually a year-long process, and it's also the beginning of a two-part process. What we are going to do is not only update these two districts, but the end of this year-long process of updating these two districts, the former exclusive ag district and the former ag 2 district to ag 1 and ag 2. We are also going to be updating the rural residential district, which right now is known as ag-res, and it is the largest district in St. Croix County. So that'll be the second comprehensive revision. So this is an ongoing process, and we've tried to really, really clearly explain that to the towns that are affected, and it is a two-step process in terms of towns having the opportunity to look at county zoning and make a decision if they want to continue to be our partners, continue to move forward, or if they're thinking that now is the time for them to do their own zoning and to move forward on their own. So, and we're supportive of them, whatever way they go. All right, Amanda, if you could give us that presentation. We've got a shortened version here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here this morning. We'll go ahead and we'll run through this. We'll go rather quickly, but please interrupt me if you have questions, if that's allowed. And you'll see here, this is the timeline that we've been going forward with the adoption. You'll see here we are October 1st looking for action from County Board. We had 2 reviews at the Community Development Committee prior to the public hearing, so we felt there was a great opportunity there educationally speaking. And on the next slide, that was just basically a walkthrough of the planning. That would be great. The planning that has taken place, that's been mentioned a couple times. The Farmland Preservation Plan was adopted the 3rd of January 2012. And then we had to get that certified by the Department of Ag. They did that on October 12th. And then the comprehensive plan was also adopted on November 5th of 2012. That provides all of the framework to implement and write the zoning ordinance we have today. I think it's important that you all see some of the outreach methods that took place throughout the planning, as well as the current community surveys, identification workshops, informational meetings, several open houses. We also had an ag zoning kickoff meetings. We had a couple of them where they provided a lot of input into how we'd like to see these district drafted as they are in front of you. We had individual requested meetings from every town that was interested. We held 9 meetings with different towns, and over 125 residents showed up to those meetings. Additionally, several towns even did a mass mailing to those that were eligible, so those residents could come specifically. Press releases were handled, mailed 320 first-class notices. We also mailed them to all the town chairs, clerks, planning commission chairs, etc. All of this information has been on an ongoing website where people have been directed to make sure and keep in touch. The key comp plan policies, this is really the framework and the importance of what we have today. With this comes directly, like I said, out of the comprehensive plan. We said we were going to amend the zoning district to residential densities of 1 per 40 or 1 unit per 20. We are doing so. We said we would amend the zoning ordinances to establish the multiple ag zoning districts, accommodating, like Ms. Ring said, a diverse set of agricultural activities and related businesses. We're also going on the economic development side. The primary focus, in our rural areas is to be supportive of ag-related businesses, and cottage industries as well. The statutory language and model ordinance really provided us with a framework of how to write our ordinance. What is allowed in permitted uses and what is allowed only as conditional. A lot of that came directly from the state. 7 out of the 10 newly defined terms that you'll find in the ordinance come directly again from the state. One that came from us is the agricultural entertainment. This is new and upcoming for St. Croix County. It's another way of saying farm-based business, combining the elements of ag as well as tourism. Other people have known it as agritourism. This now allows, if you have a primary ag use on the property, it opens it up for ag accessories such as agricultural entertainment, things like horseback riding, corn mazes, harvest festivals, weddings, wine tasting, really adding value to the existing farms. Some new St. Croix County language that's been added. You'll see the creation of the new Ag 1 and Ag 2 districts, modern ag for Ag 1 and commercial ag for Ag 2. You'll see the creation as well as the purpose statements that really dictates and decides which uses will be defined and allowed in each district. Now we're allowing some event plan requirements. We're allowing ag entertainment, but we do want to make sure we protect the existing neighbors and community. So if you have more than 100 people a day, we will be making sure that you're looking for things like how are you going to handle the ingress and egress, what type of hours of operation are you going to be open, etc. Our flexibility of land uses, that's a huge change in the current ag zoning. You're very limited. And now this is really the meat of the change. What we have is the flexibility of land uses. And we're allowing for ag accessories, the ag entertainment enterprises. We've created some standards to help the Board of Adjustment make their decisions in conditional uses.
We're allowing for the seasonal storage. Right now, if you have existing ag buildings and you would like to rent some out, that would not be allowed. Now we are opening those types of avenues up for existing ag buildings and farmers. Single-family farm residences are now allowed on a density basis. No longer do you need to have a 35-acre minimum in Ag 1 or a 20-acre minimum in Ag 2. That's been removed. You can have one farm residence on a quarter or 40 acres in Ag 1 and 2 per quarter in Ag 2. Minimum lot size is only 3 acres, so you're really opening up the flexibility of what's allowed. That was really called upon by the public input in the planning process. And like Ellen mentioned, it's been supported because it's been talked about, and this is what the residents in fact asked for. No change to the livestock facilities you have now, and no change to the height restrictions, the minor home occupations, the setbacks. Like I mentioned, we're eliminating that 35-acre and 20-acre minimum lot size, changing it to the density basis. We also eliminated contractor storage yards, golf courses, junk yards, and commercial kennels. Those are currently allowed in ag. They will no longer be allowed. That actually comes from the state. Large land users that are non-ag are no longer allowed in ag just because they may have aesthetic or nuisance issues why they're pushed away from more dense populations. That's not a good enough reason to be located in the ag district anymore. That's where that came from. You also see near the end there are some rezoning standards that have been amended per the state statutes. We do need to be consistent now with all the town and county comprehensive plans. If you want to look in more detail, the items A through D are state and the D through H are identified in our new language. Additional amendments that you'll see, the Ag Res District, while there's no immediate changes to the uses allowed, we are looking at proposing a name change in here from Ag Res to Rural Residential. We really would like that to reflect the increase in the rural large lot subdivisions within the Ag Res zoned areas. Having said that, there's still ag taking place in ag res, and we will be addressing that in our second round of this comprehensive revision, where the ag res district or rural residential will be divided up into further categories so that it better makes sense throughout the county. Additionally, you keep hearing me say conditional use. That's new language. Right now, everyone is used to hearing special exception. They mean one and the same. However, the intent of conditional use is just that. It's allowed with conditions. It's a more widely used term than special exception. Sometimes when you hear special exception, you think about a special or a variance or a hardship, and that's really not the intent of that language, and that's the reasoning why we'd like to convert to conditional use. So that's another amendment that you'll see in this and throughout all of the districts. Real briefly, just to let you know what's coming with this year countdown, as been mentioned a couple times, this is a comprehensive revision. So what that means is, at the point of adoption, so if the county board adopted today, the year window would begin. And in that year window, the towns have to make a decision. They have to re-adopt the county zoning, adopt their own zoning, or do nothing, and then they become an unzoned township or remain an unzoned. So absolutely town action is required. Where most amendments made to the zoning, it's just incorporated into their zoning ordinance. This is the case where action is required. So what we'll be doing is working really closely with these towns from October to September to make their decision and help them with their town zoning maps. And you'll see, I'm going to walk through it really quick. So September 2014, that's when we will apply to certification from the Department of Ag. They have seen this ordinance several times with the changes that have been made, and they are good with it. So we should have no concern when it comes down to getting us certified and making sure those farmers continue to receive their tax credits if they so choose. So this is an example, and I'm just going to do one for the matter of time, but the town of Warren, you see right here, all of this yellow is existing zoned ag res, or what we're going to call rural residential. Well, if you look over here, the green area, that's the adopted farmland preservation plan area. So all of the green areas are actually those that are eligible for these new districts that we were just talking about. Even though currently they're an ag res community, they have the option to adopt in the green areas the new Ag 1 and Ag 2. But this is the framework we've created. The town will make those policy level decisions. At the end of the day, if the town of Warren decides, and I think they may, we are not interested in participating in farmland preservation zoning, that is their prerogative, and that's what they may so choose to do, and their zoning will look no different than it does now. But they could go the other way, if they chose, and have some of the green areas identified as Ag 1 or Ag 2. If they wanted to be a certified zoning, certified town, then 80% of that area would actually need to come under the Ag 1 or Ag 2. But that's again up to the town. They don't need to be a certified. If they want to be able to collect tax credits, they would. 80% would need to come in, but they can just do certain portions if they feel those are the areas that will be in the in agricultural production for the long term. Any questions about that at all? That really wraps up the presentation. I know it was rather quick. Yes, sir.
I do have one question. In reading all this and looking at it, I guess my basic question is, have we decreased or increased the regulatory burden on the ag community?
Decreased.
And that's what I want to hear, because I would like to see us decrease that.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we're
how have we
opening
done
it.
that? By making the smaller lot sizes? And
Flexibility of the land uses and removal of the large lot requirements. Absolutely.
We also offered these communities basically what we would call a county-sponsored rezoning. So if there's people who've been considering having to spend the fees to get out of, for instance, exclusive ag. If there are communities who've been considering, for instance, or individuals who want to work with the towns and have been considering getting out of exclusive ag zoning, for instance, for years, if they didn't really want to pay the fees, now they can get out for free, as long as they come and work with the town. You as a county board will have to take action. I call it a partnership, and it is a partnership. And yes, the towns will be working very closely with their residents and very closely with my staff to decide on what their future land use, what their future zoning maps will look like, but the final decision is actually this county board's. So we will be bringing each and every one of those maps back to this board. We will not do it piecemeal. We've already told the towns we will bring them in 2 groups. So, and in the meantime, the county will administer 2 ordinances, the old ordinance and the old districts, and the new districts if they adopt. Say, for instance, in about 4 months, we bring a group of new maps to you. They will then be adopted if you guys choose to adopt, and then it will take place, and in those communities that have brought us new maps, we will administer the new zoning districts. In the communities that haven't decided yet, we will administer the old zoning districts.
Board members, I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to get an action item in front of us, and then we'll continue the discussion on that specific action item. So Chair would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance, and I assume that comes from Chair of Community Development.
I so move.
Motion by Chair Ring and second by Supervisor Schachtner. Discussion. Supervisor Peavey.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, and make sure I got this right in my mind, that it will be the town board's decision of how much of the green area they put into a possible rezoning. It will not be the landowner's choice.
No, you can't, no, it will not be the landowner's choice. The town board has to make that decision and adopt by resolution a document that they further to the county board for also adoption.
Can I follow? And then on the 80%, so if a town does not, for better life, where enroll 80% of the green area, and remember, we've got to remember that only the green area is eligible to even be put in it, then that town cannot be a certified town. But there still can be individuals that are in farmland preservation.
They can't be in it, and it's really good that you asked this, Bill, because we know that your town has been in this exact situation since the 1980s. Bill's town, back in the 80s, some of the farmers did want to adopt farmland preservation, exclusive ag zoning, the old district, but it was never a sufficient number that the state would certify their town. So even though they were in the district, they were not certified. They were able to enter into private agreements with the state under farmland preservation and thereby get a portion of the tax credits. That will not be available this time, if that's what you're asking.
Correct,
But, yeah, that will not be available. This time, there are no private agreements. The state has wiped those out. When they expire, which are all of them are expected to expire by the end of next year, those will be done. However, there is another alternative that the state has created, which is called an ag enterprise area, and which we do have 2 of those in St. Croix County already. The 2 that we already have, one in Rush, which covers about 90% of Rush River Township, and the other one up in Star Prairie Township, can be expanded and added onto as an option for some farmers, and they would want to then be in this zoning district in order to be in that. And another option for the farmers is to create one, say, in O'Galley Township, and it takes 5 farmers to agree. So we'll see how many of those more we get. So, but anyway, it takes that is an option, and that's the way the state wants to go forward instead of the agreements. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other discussion or requests for clarification? Are you ready to vote on the ordinance for the amendment repealing and reenacting portions of Chapter 17? Are you prepared to vote? Proceed to vote. And the ordinance is adopted. The next action item that is presented on our agenda is a resolution approving an application for county conservation aids. To get an action item in front of us, this also comes from the Community Development Committee. Chair would entertain a motion.
Also moved.
Motion from Chair Ring, second from Supervisor Schachtner. Discussion.
Could I, one thing I would like to point out about this, at a couple of meetings ago, I believe it was when we had a similar resolution approving an application for grant aids for, I believe it was snowmobiles. I think Supervisor Malick questioned, why do we have to spend time at county board meetings doing this? We've done it every year for the last how many years? So Bob Heisey brought that to the attention of DNR, and you'll see the language in this is to make it an easier process. We will do this once every 5 years instead of annually with this and other DNR-sponsored grant aid programs. Again, it's a small amount. We think that's a good direction. So he spoke and he listened, and hopefully you like the outcome.
Any additional questions, comments, discussion on the resolution approving application for County Conservation Aids Grant 2014 through 2018? Seeing none, I believe we're ready to proceed. If the clerk is ready, board members, proceed to vote. And the resolution is approved unanimously. Our third action item is a resolution opposing the 2013 Wisconsin Act 20, Section 1270, and specifically this deals with residency requirements. This comes to us from the Public Protection Committee. To get an item in front of us for discussion, Chair would entertain a motion. Motion from Chair Larson of the Public Protection Committee, second from Supervisor Brinkman. Discussion. Supervisor Ostness.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if the sheriff could come up and give us some information on this, please.
Apparently the answer is yes. You were wondering, and here he is, so I take that as an affirmative answer.
I will.
Okay.
Good morning. The resolution before you, I brought to the Public Protection Committee meeting as I was
looking at the 2013 proposed state budget, we quickly realized that the provision that's before you having to do with residency could potentially have a negative impact on our operation. Let me, if I could, please lay out the model that we use here in St. Croix County. Our patrol deputies and those deputies that have the responsibility to respond to emergency calls for service currently have vehicles issued to them. Our staffing level is such that with the staff that's on duty at any one time, we don't necessarily have the ability to address some of the more dynamic calls for service that we would answer, man with gun calls, things like that. We try to maintain minimum staffing and provide the cost-effective service. So in our model, when we get one of these more emergent calls, we, under the current system, have the ability to call our deputies out. The ones who are not on duty, they have their equipment and their vehicles, and they're able to readily respond to help us address these issues and hopefully come to a peaceful resolution. Under this current, under the current law, it affects our ability to do so. St. Croix County has had a very long-standing practice of having residency requirements for certain county employees, i.e. the sheriff's office. It dates back prior to my coming to the sheriff's office back in 1987. That model has worked for us very well. Under the current law, we can no longer implement that residency requirement. The best that we can do now is tell our deputies they have to live within 15 minutes of the radius of the county, which is what the Public Protection Committee voted to do and follow this particular legislation. So that we didn't have a mass exodus from the county. I mean, our deputies are here, but my concern is that through attrition, as we either replace people or gain additional staff, it could very well be cheaper for them to live outside of our jurisdictional boundaries. And it wouldn't make sense to me to issue those individuals their cars that they could respond to if they choose to live outside of St. Croix County. So that could then in turn mean that we need to add additional staff, driving up the costs of our operation. So that's where my concern lied, but then as I was looking at the legislation, it seemed to me that it's my opinion that it goes in direct conflict and violates the home rule. My opinion is that who knows better how to run St. Croix County than you, the county board. I think it's a matter of local concern. It should be governed by the local governing body. And it's my opinion that the legislature erred when they decided that it was a matter of statewide concern. My research in this particular provision, the conclusion that I've drawn is that it's a matter that started in Milwaukee. And it doesn't concern St. Croix County or many other counties who I've had discussions with. So that's why I'm asking for your support today for this particular resolution to put the ownership, if you will, put the ability back with you, the county board, to govern your local operations and to provide the services to our citizens as we see fit, since we're closer to that operation than the legislature. Are there any questions?
John, why don't you remain right there for questions, because I think you're going to be the one to respond. Are there any questions for the sheriff with respect to his comments or the resolution that's in front of you? Supervisor Malick.
As I understand it, the new state law would allow any county to require a deputy to live within 15 miles of a single point within the county, but not necessarily within the county. Is that the way the law works?
Correct. That's my understanding as well.
And you desire to have every deputy live within the county?
Yes.
And your principal argument is that their response times will be shorter?
That's correct. Absent the ability to have them respond quickly to these calls for emergency service, which is the only time that we, really have concern over this, would most certainly require the addition of more deputies in order to be able to respond to these calls for service as they present themselves.
There's a somewhat puzzling two words at the end of the therefore paragraph, so that'd be on line 30, when it says supports the challenging of such legislation by legal means. And I wonder if the chairman of the committee really gave this a great deal of thought. Did somebody at one time suggest, Roger, that we ought to challenge it by illegal means? Because I think we generally make the assumption that nothing we do will we use illegal means. Is that a synonym for that we plan to use the services of our new corporation council to sue the state? We probably won't get far if we try that, if it's other than using up a scarce resource. Or did it mean that we would sign petitions, send letters as described in lines 32 through 34 there, and leave it at that? That we would try to enlist the WCA's lobbying team, the Wisconsin Counties Association lobbying team, to persuade the legislators to change the law? Or I'm just curious about why those words were chosen.
Supervisor, are you making a self-evident comment, or do you want a response from the Chair of Public Protection?
Well, I suppose the committee chair probably has some good responses to make.
In that case, response from the Chair of Public Protection.
I think most of this was brought to us from the sheriff, and under his recommendations, that's the way we went in this direction. Is that correct, John? Just ask.
The intent of that language was to make sure that the board fully understood that, we would start by what Supervisor Malick suggested, sending the letters to our legislators, although I've already had discussions with them and have a history of how this played out. And Senator Harsdorf and Representative Knudsen, who sat on the Joint Finance Committee, did attempt to bring our concerns to the rest of that Joint Finance Committee and then to the legislature, but what they told me was they quickly realized that they weren't going to have the votes to stop it, so they got this 15-mile language implemented. But in the end, if these other measures didn't work, I asked the Public Protection Committee point blank, are we willing to take this to court? Do we feel strongly enough that these types of things should be governed at the local level? This has a potentially negative impact on this county and our operations, and it should be a matter of local control and not statewide concern. So that was the intent of that language, to make sure that was discussed with the board.
Supervisor Malick.
If anybody else wants to speak, I don't want to.
I see no other hands.
I would suggest that we give our new corporation council the opportunity to consider this before we, and let the board, let at least our administration committee give some thought to whether any lawsuit would be likely to succeed, because my initial reaction is that the state legislature created, well, as we all know, or just, County Government 101. County government is created by the legislature. The state legislature is primary. Counties are nothing without the grant of authority from the state. Okay. The state has chosen to create this concept of administrative home rule and applied it to some counties, cities, villages, but it is up to the county, up to the state, what it will be and what its content will be. The same state legislature that created administrative home rule could remove it in an instant. And it is also usually interpreted to apply to administrative matters, not more substantive matters. So there are probably at least two defenses that the state would assert if we were to try to sue. Well, three. Number one, they'd start off with counties shouldn't be suing the state, so leave, go home. Secondly, they might make the argument that this isn't administrative. Thirdly, that it's up to the state legislature to define what is administrative home rule, not the counties to do so. So I would submit that before we commit any legal resources to litigation, the administration committee look at that hard and give Mr. Cox the opportunity to give you an opinion and advice on the chances for success. All right? So long as you're willing to do that, I guess I can probably support this because the sheriff asked for it.
Well, here's where we're at from a parliamentary standpoint. We have a main motion in front of us. So we either need to proceed with an up or down vote on that main motion, or there needs to be an amendment. I hear you suggesting but not offering a course of action, which would be postponement until a time specific and calling for review by the new corp council. Is that what you are offering, or were you simply verbalizing that as a possibility?
Well, it seems to me that our corporation council isn't going to file any papers in any court without consulting our administration committee on a matter like this. I think we all know that. So there'll be a possible cutoff at that stage, and I'm just essentially saying to the administration committee, be sure not jump the gun. Evaluate our chances of success before filing anything. I don't think we need to put that into the motion because that's a process we would use anyway.
Okay.
Once we're alerted to it. If we all understand it that way, then there's nothing to complain about. Line 30, doing things by legal means, because as I pointed out earlier, we never intend to do things by illegal means.
Well, then the chair is somewhat confused. If there's nothing to complain about, then what is it you are verbalizing, sir?
I think you all know a lot more about the subject now than you did 5 minutes ago.
And I thank you for your comments. Again, I would indicate that in front of us right now is a main motion, and the main motion is what is under discussion. You are seeking attention? Chair recognizes the board member from District 3.
Yeah, I also want to support the sheriff, and I'm always going to come down on the side of local control. I think we have a better idea of what we need in St. Croix County than they do in Madison. But I, from what I heard you say there on lines 23 and 24, whereas the legislature was in error when it found the public employee residency requirements are a matter of statewide concern, what I heard was that's your opinion. Is that correct? Or did you get some kind of legal opinion that the legislature was in error?
That is my opinion. I did discuss this matter with then Corp Counsel Don Gillen, but as has been pointed out, we now have a new corporation council. I agree with Supervisor Malick that this needs to work its way through the process. But in order to start any of this, and the reason the resolution is here, is I didn't want to create a lot of work for people if the board wasn't supportive of the idea that, we believe that this should be a matter of local control, and we want to try and take some steps, whether it's convincing our legislators to try and introduce new legislation to reverse this, or whatever that outcome looks like. I didn't want to waste those resources and time and effort if you weren't supportive of it.
I have no idea what that is. Board members, any other additional comments, questions, concerns? And if there is no other offered course of action, what is in front of us is a main motion that we need to proceed with. So on a motion from Board Member Larson and a second from Board Member Brinkman, in front of us is a resolution opposing the 2013 Wisconsin Act 20, Section 1270. And at this point, board members, proceed to vote. Wait a minute. Board members, proceed to vote. And the resolution is approved on a vote of 14-2. County Clerk, do you have any reports of correspondence or any rezoning requests?
I have nothing to report.
I would direct your attention, board members, to, I believe, some of you that may not have picked up your mail have in front of you a letter from the board chair in Polk County, William Johnson. You'll recall last month William Johnson and some of his relatives were here at the time we rededicated this meeting room. Actually, I guess it's the first time we dedicated this meeting room, but we previously dedicated the county community room to Ole Anderson, and that thank you letter comes from the board chair in Polk County, who happens to be Ole Anderson's nephew. So that was a bit of serendipity there. Administrator Thompson referenced in his remarks that we will be having a committee of the whole meeting that has been scheduled for Wednesday, 23 October at 9 a.m. Get that on your calendar. That is the time at which we will begin as a group to digest the administrator proposed budget. It is still going through revisions yet at this time, but prior to our November board meeting, we will have a chance to begin to digest that and get into that with some more detail. And with that, our agenda is completed and we are adjourned.